All righty. All right, guys. Well, Cammie, can you turn one of the lights up so we can see the? Maybe the other way. Yeah. Yeah. I just want that. Well, there's that glare on it. I just want to.
You want more?
Yeah. No. You can put it back up. Yeah. All right.
Oh, I see.
Okay, here we go. Awesome. So, guys, welcome to our second iteration of Movement Lawyering Symposium here at Dillon University. Like I said, we talked about the baseline of what it means to be a movement lawyer. And today we're going to talk about what's the crux of what movement lawyering is all about, which is the people. And so that's why we entitled this part, We Are the People. Next slide. There we go. So just to give you an overview of what you're going to be learning, for those of you that were not here on Tuesday, you will learn to advocate for clients and communities on issues of racial justice in a culturally competent manner. The skills course will guide students to understand how to navigate representation through a lens of awareness of the specific impact of race and gender on our judicial system, including the impact on colleagues of color. Students will explore the emotion experienced by the Black community and attorneys of color stemming from the reality of navigating daily tasks amongst overt racist acts, microaggressions, and threatening policies. Next slide. Just iterating. This brought to you by, I wear quite a few hats. So one of my favorite hats, that's okay. One of my favorite hats is with Detangled. Detangled is a program. It's a company that I run with my co-founder, Damien D. Smith, who is on the other side of the camera, making sure all the pieces go just perfectly for you guys. But we work together to create programming around digital organizing, digital strategies. We make films. We take those films, we make articles out of them, programs out of them, and this is one of the programs that we have made for you guys. And so that is what Detangled is. I'll give y'all more information on how you can find us and some of our work. We're actually going to be screening one of our films on Thursday. Damien will be down here, so you will finally be able to get to meet him. But we're going to be screening one of our films that we use around civic engagement on Thursday. So really excited for you guys to be here. And that is Detangled. Next slide. So we got some dope panelists. A couple of them are not here, and so when when they come, we'll let them jump in. But I have two incredible women here today who, I feel very lucky that I have people in my life that when I ask to show up, they say yes. And so we have Artemis King, who is a dear friend and civil rights activist. Same thing with Tueri, thank you. Who you all met her on Tuesday when we were talking specifically about movement lawyering but today, as we dive into the issues, I know she's going to drop some gems. Also, she could not be here today, Michelle Craig. She is the founder of Transcendent Legal. She's also one of our board chairs, but Michelle has a very interesting perspective when it comes to owning a Black woman-owned law firm in the South, in New Orleans, and around economic equity. And so she's going to be sending out some pamphlets for you guys to read on some of the work that she does. And on her way is Alana Hebert. Alana Hebert is the executive director of the ACLU Louisiana. And she has an incredible hero origin story of how she has moved from when she was in law school to working through the Supreme Court. And now she is the executive director of the ACLU, which is a civil rights law firm. So anytime there's a group of lawyers together that work, it's a law firm, right? People don't say the SPLC is a law firm, it's a law firm. public defender's office is a law firm, right? The ACLU is a law firm. So you will meet Alana, and she is just one of the most incredible attorneys that I have ever met. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to ask my panelists to take 2 of these questions each, right? So what is your hero origin story? You know how people talk about, what's your villain origin story, right? We have hero origin stories when we do this work. So hero origin story, when was the time that listening influenced action that resulted in a good outcome? Why is it important to listen to the people? And I put 2 twos. And what can happen when lawyers listen to the people? So I'm going to start with you, Artemis.
So I'm gonna go with, what is your hero origin story? That would be, it's a lot of, with my mom, I think, and just seeing how resilient I can be as a Black woman. My hero origin story is, I guess, what was pushing me to use fashion and art and activism, and it's my daughter. Just she's fighting a case, and I am being mom to her and her son, and it's a lot because then I have to be mom to the other kids, but I have to still let her story be heard without I just have to let her story be heard.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess it's important to listen to the people, because people be crying, and they be saying it. They literally be like saying it, and no one hears. No one is hearing. So we need somebody to listen. Yeah.
That's real. Thank you, Artemis.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's very.
So the other 2 mine, I'm so glad I had to do the hero origin story. That was hard. And I cannot talk about myself. I had 2 better write my bio. So okay, when was the time that listening influenced action that resulted in a good outcome? Oh Lord. Y'all, for those who was here who met me last time, y'all know I'm talking about. But I listen even more. And I believe in listening with your eyes and your ears. And so even when I'm talking, I'm observing. And that's critical. And y'all know I kept talking about grassroots organizing. And that's critical in that work. I'll give you something that's more in recent, not recent, but more in recent times. So when my daughter was going to the 8th grade here in New Orleans, when we moved back to New Orleans, I was going to the board meetings every month, and I would go late on purpose. The first couple times I went on time, and I'm like, okay, and I'm not there on time, but I was on time, and I said, they're not even starting on time, they're not respecting my time, we didn't expect to post the board meeting, and all of these things, so I'm paying attention to all of this. And I started going late because also too, they were not even asking if you had if anything came from the audience, which is a part of running the board. So as y'all get into this, some of y'all don't realize that's high school, that's board decor. And so I would be making all these notes. So I start coming late, and I'll be kicking the chairs and making noise and sit on the front row. And I would never go in there with a preconceived notion about anything. I would go and listen, and I'm taking notes on everything that they're doing. And they will always mess up. Like you could bet money they was gonna mess up something. So I was always prepared to correct it. I don't care if it was the budget. I don't care if it was my specialty, which is curriculum and instruction. I don't care what it was gonna flop on something. And I was there to call them out on it. They ended up getting rid of my daughter's principal, who we adored. She was like last of a dying breed of amazing principals here in New Orleans, from New Orleans. Went through the ranks before that, when that was a real thing to do, go through the ranks of being a principal. And they got rid of her because she principled. And that was a problem for them. And so she called, I was her third call. And I said, okay. So I had all my notes and I started to organize. I organized teachers, students, and parents together. And it took we started in May, and we fought with them all the way to July. We went to, fast forward, we went to a school board meeting. And we were probably about maybe 40, 50 of us deep. And it was other schools represented there too. And we were so organized to the point where everybody was already chosen who was going to speak. I was not going to speak because they had got accustomed to me doing. I said, no, it's time for y'all to start stepping up. I'm gonna play the back. One of the women got nervous and she was like, I can't do it. I need you to do it. When you go to board meetings, they're supposed to have something for you to sign. Anybody who wants to speak is supposed to have that open. So at the New Orleans school board meetings, you sign a card. You only get 2 minutes. So I had everybody to sign a card, even though I wasn't going to speak. Strategy, we talked about that last time. So as the first woman went up to speak, the second one, so now the other woman said she didn't do it, so now I got to sit down and ready to speak. So I get up and I'm speaking, and they said your time. One of the time they went up and said she could have my time. I was up there 30 minutes, like you could literally Google it. And it commanded the audience. It was so strategic, they didn't even see it coming. The school board meeting for the first time in history said during that, you need to take a pause. And they got up and they went to the back. They came back. They said, we're going to finish the board meeting, but I'm going to ask for Lafayette Academy to stay, which was my daughter's school. Fast forward again, we had a meeting in my office. It was a list of demands that was created by all of us. They told us they weren't going to meet the demands. They met almost. We had 12 demands. They met 10 demands. And the first demand was we wanted to get rid of the CEO, which they did. He was the highest CEO in New Orleans. Over $300,000 he was being paid every year, and my children not even have computers. You have to go. And he was gone. And I meant that before my baby graduated. You had to go. And he was gone. So listening, though, made that happen. I was able to listen to parents. I was able to listen to children who were there every single day. I was able to listen to teachers. And then made them start listening to each other, because there's also a divide in that. And because I wore 2 hats as an educator and as a parent, then I said, y'all gotta, and as a farm administrator, y'all have to come together and start to listen for the betterment of the children, period. That's why we're here. And that was it. So people tell me things can't happen with this, what I call school and system, that's a lie. It can happen because we made it happen. And that was just one battle. But it can happen. So that's why, again, we need y'all to be lawyers, because we need lawyers to start to really bring this thing down. We need to bring people to court. And what can happen when lawyers listen to the people? What I just said. If I can tell you, I can call them out by name, and I'm not going to do it. Lawyers that I have went to work with us to sue these schools, and they are afraid, and they've been paid off. I called them out on Facebook, and I tag them because I'm that one. Because it's not a game. Because if we don't do that, they continue to do it because nobody knows. So we have to say it. We have to shame them, because this cannot continue. And so you have to listen. You have to listen intently to what the people's needs are. It doesn't mean that you are not able to counter, or you're not able to say, I don't think that may be a good idea in your experience. But it does mean that you are considering and strongly and genuinely consider what the people are saying, because again, they're walking in. I hear people tell me, why you got the children involved in it? Because they in the class every day. We're not there every day. So I depend on them to let us know what's going on every single day. When I have meetings with my kids, teachers or counselors, whatever, why they gotta be here? Because they hear what you every day. And I need to hear all sides, I'm not that parent that's gonna go and just whatever my child say. And I'm not that parent gonna say whatever you say either, because I've been in the classroom before. I've been an administrator, so I get it. So I need to hear every, and my mama was that mama. So it's important to hear all sides. So to be an effective lawyer, like one of my shoes who just walked in the room, to be an effective lawyer, I'm talking about you have to be that. You got to put your listening ears and eyes on, because you got to be able to do all of it, looking and hearing all of those things, take that in. So
thank you. And I'm so glad that you made the, because I want to bring Alana Alana Odom.
That's okay.
So I will tell you, this woman right here is the personification of movement learning. Yes, please. Personification of movement learning. I told you all she has gone from law school to the Supreme Court working, and now is the executive director of the ACLU, which is a premier civil rights law firm that works across the South. And when I tell you that we have been in some trenches together, it's been incredible to have this amazing attorney part of the world. So Alana, I am asking everyone to answer 2 of these questions. I am actually going to push you to do your hero origin story.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I get the feel like I might know a little bit, but yeah.
Who you are?
Who I am?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to mention somebody else.
No,
Like
no.
a heroine that I like modeling my life after. First of all, I feel way too far away from y'all on this day. It's like, oh my goodness.
Feel free to move about the well.
I might, honestly, only because I'll tell you something about movement lawyering, which
yes,
you can really only know, I think, by virtue of like being connected to the people. So you just, got down the gram. Yeah, and also, you have to be able to really connect with your audience. So good evening. Thank you so much for indulging me in my tardiness. I was dropping my daughter off at art therapy, which is Metairie, and we got caught by the train.
I love it.
So
Wait, I'm gonna interrupt you, Alana.
Yes.
I'm gonna put you right here. I'm gonna sit right here just
Okay,
because we got audience.
we coming down to.
okay. My hero origin story. So who am I? I am the daughter of Evelyn and Larry Odoms. I was born in Bayonne, New Jersey, which is like the Metairie, that's akin to Jersey City, which is like where my people are from. I was, that's okay. I was the kid who had a dual existence, like a dual consciousness. So I grew up, my parents were both born in the projects in Jersey City. And like we're kind of the first in their families. My mom was one of 8 and my dad was one of 4 to kind of make it out. Like they were the first ones to finish high school, finish college. And so we lived in Jersey City when I was first born, and lived really close to all my aunts and uncles, all my cousins, all the aunties, everybody. And we went to a school district that was a public school district, and it was an Abbott school district. That's a Supreme Court case that essentially deemed that that school didn't have, or the school district didn't have all the resources that it needed. So early on in my life, around 3 or 4 years old, my parents moved us to a suburb in Edison, New Jersey. So I kind of grew up when we commuted every day to school, every single day, an hour each way. So we would get up very, very early, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, get in the car, drive up the highway, and get to Jersey City, where both my parents worked. My mom was a paralegal, and my dad is a high school administrator. He became a principal later on in his career. And so I grew up kind of being really close to the city, really close to all of the things that happen in the city with our people. I grew up on a block that had 30 kids on it, which was like, you could just imagine summers like hide and go seek, spin the bottle, other things that we did that were just like, oh my gosh. And it was just all these beautiful Black children. And of those 30 of us, I would say maybe 20 of us probably ended up incarcerated. 10 of us probably lost their lives to gun violence. Just a really well-known story for our people, right, of what happens with our interactions with the criminal legal system and the harms that come from gang violence and things that happen in our communities, which we are all like this is like it's on the tip of all of our tongues now with everything that's happening here in New Orleans. But I want to let you know that New Orleans is no different than Newark, is no different than Compton, is no different than the South Side of Chicago, is no different than Philadelphia and Trenton. We are not unique in this respect. And so being close to all of that, for me, when I was a little girl, was really, really, really important, right? Because it reminds me of the work, right? No matter how far I go, no matter how high up I travel, I know where I come from and I know who I am and whose I am. But there is also this dichotomy, right? So I also lived in an ultra white community where, actually then it was mostly white. Now it's a primarily Indian community. So I kind of saw these two dynamics every day. I eventually went to a high school that was a predominantly Asian high school, very high performing high school, but kind of going back and forth between these two norms and realizing that no matter what I wanted to do in my life, it was going to involve kind of making sure that the outcomes that I saw for those 30 kids on the block that I loved, that made my life fun and exciting and happy and full of joy, like that was going to be something that I was really committed to. I'll tell you a really, really important story about me. It's not a perfect story, right? I really think it's important for people to share those parts of their story that aren't pretty and shiny and don't make them look perfect. So the way I got to New Orleans is during my first year of law school, I got in trouble. I got in a lot of trouble, actually. There was a student in the class. Actually, this was a guy that I had a crush on since we went to elementary school together. And he was in 8th grade and I was in 7th and he played basketball. And I just thought he was, And he went to high school. He played basketball in high school. We went to different high schools, different colleges. And I ended up seeing him later on, actually, after we graduated from college, and he had actually applied to law school at the same time that I had. Long story short, I had a lot of, I was really struggling when I got to my first year of law school. I really didn't have the confidence that I needed. I really struggled to believe that I actually should be in the seat that I was in, even though I had performed really well in high school, really well in college, and was a really good student. And we tend to feel that way, right? Like the imposter syndrome, I shouldn't be here. Who am I to be taking up this space? Who am I to feel like I feel? I really don't feel like I belong here. And so some of those insecurities kind of led me to kind of look outside of myself for the confidence that I needed, as opposed to looking within. And so with this person, we were both very young people at the time, and I actually didn't realize this. I was the top African-American woman student in my law school class at the time, and he was the top African-American male law student at the time. Not knowing this, I've kind of since learned all this. But we were in our legal research and writing program, and everybody collaborated. And this was something that everybody knew. But for whatever reason, this very young white teacher, who was our instructor, she'd been teaching for less than a year, charged us with unauthorized collaboration. And we ended up being suspended from school for a year. Actually, no, I'm sorry, a semester. And I don't even think you know this story.
I did not know this story. I'm like,
yeah.
I thought you were going to tell a different story.
No, I'm telling some, I'm spilling the tea tonight. Oh boy. And this corresponded with the time that Hurricane Katrina hit in New Orleans. And so I was experiencing, obviously, a personal tragedy. This community was experiencing a national tragedy, a global tragedy, a humanitarian crisis. And I felt really connected to the suffering, frankly, being connected to the suffering, and I wanted to come here. And so I did. I ended up finding a really wonderful professor at the public policy school at Rutgers. I went to Rutgers Law School, by the way. And he was doing some work that was funded by the Ford Foundation here in New Orleans. And during that semester that I was out of the law school, I became a fellow at the public policy school working with this professor. So my first trips to New Orleans were through this kind of fellowship that I had gotten. And frankly, I fell in love when I got here. And so, everything that I do, in terms of the work that I've done to try and end mass incarceration here, the work that I've done on behalf of young people and children, one initiative that stands out in my mind is to stop the shackling of young people in juvenile court, to help kind of try and solve this issue around truancy and separation from school. I did some of that work when I was at the Supreme Court. helping to get folks released early, which is something that I did during justice reinvestment, and trying to make our laws, our criminal laws, reflect the dignity and humanity of people of the state. All of that comes, if you really, really, really want to know where it comes from my brokenness, right? It comes from the brokenness that I experienced when I lost my friends from the block. It comes from the brokenness of like not feeling like I was enough. And it comes from the power of like connecting your brokenness to a larger brokenness, right? And recognizing that there's always a message in your mess, that your fears have the ability to make you fierce. And that if you kind of use what you're given, whatever that is, whatever life gives you as far as your story, to actually think about success in a different way, not success in terms of the traditional monetary ways of thinking about success, not thinking about titles, not thinking about salary, but thinking about impact, thinking about how can I actually use what I've been given by God and the universe and love and whatever source energy, whatever you want to call it, how can I use that to make an impact? And so to be very honest with you, like I didn't know that I was going to be a civil rights lawyer. I thought I was actually going to be a corporate lawyer. I worked at Johnson & Johnson before I went to law school and had an internship there for a really long time. I thought I was going to be a corporate lawyer. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep before I started. But then I stopped doing what people expected of me. People thought I should be doing, what it seemed like I should be doing. And I really started connecting to what lit me up, which is our people, right? Making sure our people could thrive, making sure I could thrive. Like a lot of this work was actually like me realizing my worth, me realizing that I had value beyond just what I could produce, me realizing that a lot of what happened to me was unfair, right? What happened to us was unfair, and kind of trying to interrogate those systems to try and determine, okay, how can I become so knowledgeable, so dangerously knowledgeable about all these systems that impact us? And then how can I use my goodness, that relentless goodness, to apply it to figure out how we can make some change? And so, you know, my hero story is a story of a girl who didn't always believe, and is still like in the process of believing. But I can tell you this, my belief is always strengthened when I'm in a space with young people. It's always strengthened when I'm in close proximity, which is why I had to get off this dais to be closer to y'all. I would actually probably like try to get close and snuggle up in the seats if it was possible for us. But it's always, you don't have to define every step of the journey because it's actually going to be something that unfolds, but you do have to give your whole heart, and you do have to have a mission and a vision, and you have to set that mission and vision, and then you have to really commit yourself, even when it gets really, really hard, especially when it gets hard, to showing up and to being brave. Some of the hardest things in my life that I've had to accomplish, some of those growth moments when you're trying to make change, people don't like change. People will call you names. There will be lots of resistance. And sometimes in that resistance, we feel like we're getting that resistance from the universe because we're not on the right path. But in reality, hopefully you got some sisters, hopefully you got some mentors, hopefully you got some folks who have your back who you can sit down with and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. What does this mean? And we can encourage you and tell you, no, when you are in the process of upending a system, it feels like the world is going to end. People will try to make you feel like you are wrong. And then sometimes in that discomfort, we get weary. But one of the biggest leadership lessons I can tell you about is learning how to sit in that discomfort, learning how to walk into a room, and when there's not a table, a chair at the table for you, you pulling up a chair for yourself and asking somebody to move down, which is literally something that I had to do. You know, when I was working on justice reinvestment, which is these pieces of legislation that changed our criminal statute, they literally 25 white men sitting at a table and would not make room for me to sit down. And I had a couple things to do, right? To think about that. Like, do I just sit on the side? No. Shirley Chisholm said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, you bring a folding chair. And she meant that. And I thought of that when I was in that room, but I'm going to tell you something. It's scary. It is scary. You feel that fear. You feel that, these people don't like me. These people want to come for me. These people are trying to hurt me. Yeah, and they are. But they've been coming for us for a long time. They've been coming for us for a long time. And I'm going to tell you what, this is no shade, no disrespect to the men in the room, because you have a really important role to play and always have. But Black women and Black girls have been and are the perfecters of American democracy. We have put our bodies on the line and always have in order to ensure that the rights that are in the Constitution actually mean something for our people. We've been the only race of women to have our children wrapped and pulled from our bosom, and still would risk and invest in this country to make change. We still send our children with U.S. Marshals to integrate a school, which happened right here in New Orleans to desegregate schools. That type of investment, two of them exactly. McDonough 19 and William Frantz Elementary School. And we need to go to the TEP Center, and we need to pay homage to the Black women who did that for us. But we've been doing that. We've been doing that. And so what we have to do is we have to cloak ourselves in that history. We have to bathe ourselves in that history so that we can remember. We can remember our goodness and our greatness and that sacrificial nature of Black women, because it's within you. You don't have to go anywhere to get it. There's nothing for you to buy. There's nothing for you to do. You don't have to do anything to acquire it. It's in your DNA. It's right there for you. Put that crown on. It's been paid for you. So I just want to encourage you. There is nothing about me and what I've done and who I am that is not in you, that you can't do, that you can't make. It's not, God didn't make it that way, right? She didn't make it that way, right? Spirit didn't make it that way. Everything that we see, that we want, that we aspire to, we can have. Everything. Once you recognize what's inside of you, the greatness, the goodness, the love, the spirit that's inside of you, everything you want, you can have. There is no one on this panel that is unique in a way that you cannot be. You just have to accept it and claim it. And then you have to put your head down and you have to work, but you also have to have a balance, right? It's not just work. It's not just sacrifice. It's also joy. It's also peace. It's also lavishing in the goodness and beauty that you have and you are. And it doesn't mean you buying things. It's nothing you need to buy, right? It's just about recognizing that you have so much goodness, and like taking time to recognize that and surrounding yourself with people who also recognize that goodness in you, and moving away from those people who don't, right? Because there are always going to be those people who want to extinguish your light. And sometimes those people are friends. Sometimes those people are love interests. Sometimes those people are family members. A lot of times that I say, I've worked in a lot of institutions that are very intractable or really resistant to change. The courts, the legislature. One of the most intractable institutions is the institution of the family. Sometimes our families are the ones that we have to set boundaries with, right? We have to be able to set and hold a boundary so that people can understand that everything that was done in the past does not have to be done the exact same way in the future. And you have to make sure that you can make decisions for yourself, right? And being in relationship with yourself, checking in with yourself, actually paying attention to how you feel. I'm gonna tell you something about how you feel. How you feel is your greatest guide in this world for moving in the right direction toward your destiny, towards your peace, towards your joy, towards your success. How you feel. Women are oftentimes distracted away from how we feel, our essence, what is coming up for us. We got to push that away because we have this responsibility, that responsibility, this external need, this external thing to do. How you feel, that's a gift. It's your intuition, it's your source. So stay in that and stay with people who will support that in you. And be a fierce advocate. So like, this is the last thing I'll say. Fierce advocacy, it begins with fierce advocacy for yourself, right? If you think about the spaces that you hold as like not concentric circles, the circles that are, I guess they are concentric. You think about a small circle being like you, and then you think about the circle that goes around it as like maybe family. And then you think about the circle around it as community. Think about the circle around it as like region, nation, state. First, you have to pour into you, right? And whatever overflows from that goes to family, goes to community, goes further to region, to nation, to state. But you have to do that first. If this is a vessel, this vessel has to remain full. And then you pour from the full vessel. You don't pour from an empty cup. And that's what we do. We do that very often. So if you can get that right, if you can stay faithful to that and hold others accountable for staying faithful to that for you, you're not going to be learning a lot of the lessons that I've been learning at 40 and 41. Like, you'll be learning them a lot sooner, which means you'll be light years ahead. You'll be doing things that we never imagined, which is what I hope for you. And I know it's possible. So I'm just waiting to sit back and just like say, wait a minute, I knew her. Do you remember? We taught that one night. And I'm waiting for the phone call, right? Because the other thing, last thing I want you to remember is your connection to your elders and the ones who came before you is your way when you are lost. And it's also your way when you don't think you lost, because you're young people. And when I was a young person, I thought I knew it all. I thought I knew everything, how to do it. I didn't need any help. I'm going to tell you something. You sit at somebody's foot and you let them tell you, you don't have to take it all. You don't have to do it all and accept it all. But I'm going to tell you something. You're going to come back around and you're going to recognize like, I was being given a nugget of wisdom there. I was really being guided there. So in your pursuits, make sure you have strong connection to the folks who came before you, strong connection to Black women, strong connection to elders, because that is going to be what's going to continue to kind of keep you moving on the right path, keep you in that direction moving forward, keep you going towards your peace, your joy, keep you connected to the community, all of that. Yes?
Yes. There's so many stories that Alana has shared, Ken shared, so I'm grateful for you sharing this new story with us. So I'm going to have you guys, Artemis, if you can pull, let y'all be at with the people. Because when people say that's what we want, that's what you give them. So I'm going to. Okay, so I'm gonna pull, go ahead. Yep, no, pull them so we can get everyone right here. There we go. So what we're gonna do next, guys, is, so the syllabus is what we're gonna go through today. We're gonna define radical lawyering. We kind of did that a little bit. And today, as I said, we're gonna discuss the issues that our clients navigate. And if we have enough time, we're gonna go through a little bit of a fact pattern. Alana, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. All right, so
radical lawyering is to decenter yourself as the attorney, which, despite what they teach you in law school, is exactly what you're supposed to do. It's more listening than it is speaking, and very important. I think radical lawyering is also when not to speak. We as lawyers, we have all the words, we have all the arguments, but some of the best advice I got is knowing when to shut up. Because sometimes it'll move just fine without you. And it'll move exactly where you need it to move. And it's also about, the radical part about lawyering as well is empowering with the people that you're serving.
And so that was Joy Lynn, who was here on Tuesday. And so the definition of radical warning is moving the way the people ask us to move and listening and doing what they say. And so I love that part when she says, you gotta learn how to know when to shut up, and know when to be quiet and know when you can advise, but at the end of the day, Alana and I, we go home. We go home. Our clients are the ones that are navigating reality. And we navigate the realities of life, but our clients are the ones that have asked us to help them navigate to where they want to be, not what we think that they should be. And when you are a movement warrior, you do radical warring from the perspective of the people. So next slide.
I guess, trying to real quick. So go back real quick to the other slide. So, no, back to the one Jonelle was talking. I want to look at the top part of it. So, up here, radical one is about empowering people. So, like I told y'all before, me and words have a relationship because I'm a writer, I'm a poet. And you always hear this terminology. People say you got to control the narrative. And so my pushback is always, if your terminology isn't correct, you don't have a narrative. A lot of times we find ourselves repeating things, and especially Black people being unconsciously doing it. And no matter how amazing we are, sometimes that just happens. And we do it a lot of times, especially repeating after white folk. And that oppression goes there, right? Even with the word oppression, they have redefined it to fit them, right? So we have to be very mindful of things. I'm talking about listening with your ears and your eyes. So like, I don't use the word empower when it comes from talking about my people, because I don't have the power to give you power, right? I can recognize the power in you and help you to strengthen that power, to tap into it, right? So I want y'all to start, so let's start moving away from certain terms, right? So, because empower that's what's saying, like, because that's terms that white folks use, right? I'm gonna go ahead and get this nigger this power, because that's a way for them to continue to control, right? Without them saying color only and whites only, and you over here and then you over here, right? If we're gonna do that's by choice. That's because you're saying it. So empowering actually speaks more to white supremacy than it does to you. So I want y'all to start thinking about that. So when you saying, like one of my girlfriends, I was writing a grant, and I put in the grant I'm saying power, and I'm saying comrade, and I'm reading it to her, and she said, "So Larry, you saying at the grant?" I said, "You always?" I said, And I laughed. It's probably why I'm getting the money, but I don't care. And I laughed, and she said, "Next time, Cynthia, I'm gonna write it for you." And I was like, "No, I'm cool." And so, literally, the next month, we had a workshop with I think I told you about him last Tuesday, Ryan Chisholm, who is the founder of the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond. Who you all need to talk to y'all professors about y'all doing this. And so. I asked him to come in. He's one of my mentors to do it with Fresh for Black August, and we did undoing internalized racism, which is a thing for us, like I just talked about. And he was using these terms, and she said, Tueri was writing this and she told him the story, and he started laughing, and he said, "Why you were so shocked about it?" She said, "Because I think I just felt like that what it was supposed to be. I've been so engaged in what they want us to say, and I just started repeating what they were saying." She said, and he told her, "And that's how we stay in our place for them." And so I want y'all to start thinking about those words that keep us strong, because we strong. We strong. And I just told you a whole story about going to the project, and from the project to being a lawyer. And for them, it's like, who would have thought she was gonna be a lawyer? Me. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Because she run the project. So I told her a story about my student. I was so proud of him when they gave a keynote address. I knew his butt was going to college. I was mad because he got put out. And after we came to my house, put your head up and you get your butt back in school. And I was so proud to see him standing where I knew he should have been standing 2 years before that. So I'm not shocked on what we can do. That's the power that we possess. So we want to move, and not necessarily have to move away from all the time. Sometimes we do have to put those to bed, but sometimes we have to use them in a proper context. So I wanted to just kind of key in on my sister, Jordan, who I love and adore, for that too. Because again, sometimes we say things that we're not conscious of because we've just been used to saying them, and we too busy trying to make white people feel comfortable.
That's true. I got a question. So what word should we change to, or
Power. Powerful, strong, strengthened, tap into it. Like the young folks say, tap in. My children like they don't like to say
Reminding
it.
of power, right?
Yeah.
It's reminding of
Mhm.
power.
Yeah.
I appreciate that too. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go into how our clients experience the world. What we're going to do is I'm going to play a 5-minute clip from community members, and then we're going to do a little bit of a discussion. Okay. So this first one is about mental health, and I'm going to turn the volume up on this because the first speaker, she speaks really softly, and so I want to make sure you all can hear.
We talk about
Oh, look at my girl go.
criminal justice reform. All these issues, we tend to talk about them as separate issues. But my entire time spent in prison was for shopping, right? Which is socially called survival crimes, right? I was also drug addicted. The drug addiction came from years of suppressed trauma, right? There was no mental health resources available to me. So I carried those traumas as a young black woman. We didn't have a lot of resources available to me. I was raised in poverty. We began to have kids that she couldn't take care of because of the economics. I ended up in prison. We found health, economics, criminal justice. Right? Black women have suffered not only at the hands of society, but at our own hands.
What do we need to pay attention to? One of the things I think we need to pay attention to is that there's a stigma attached to mental health, right? Or mental health issues. And I think we as Black women have an important role to play in helping to break through those stigma and, break them down and understand that vulnerability, being vulnerable and understanding emotional health is actually courageous. It's actually about being strong rather than being weak. And I think for us as Black women too, there are stereotypes that exist that, we have to be strong all the time. So I think breaking through those stigmas and being able to express that it's important for us to acknowledge that the whole person, the healthy person, includes mental health care, includes taking care of emotional health. And then if we are able to address that, then, we have to make our communities healthier overall.
I have a 3-year-old daughter named Liberty Spencer. August 16, 2018, my daughter's father was killed. Just knowing that my daughter will never get to have her father throughout the rest of her life, and I have to explain the loss. She's so young to say what the outcome can be, but I'm personally thinking about her safety. I'm also thinking about when things come up as in maybe a father-daughter dance or things where she needs someone to be there present, or her father just being a protector for her, she won't have it. When we realize the mental strain that is put on the child or the effects of the child in the long run, what resources are available. I don't want literally father being killed to just be a tragic. I want to use that story to advocate for just mental health services, knowing that it's okay to go talk to somebody or to just live, maintain a livable life, like a healthy life. I know that my vote may not change things immediately, but I hope eventually it may help a family like mine.
So, posing to the panel, I'm gonna ask each of you to take one of the questions, right? How does mental health impact legal cases? What would it look like if attorneys considered mental health when considering cases? And what has been your experience around mental health when it comes to attorneys? Terry, I'm gonna start with you. I love also how you looked at it, you're like, there's my friend. Amazing.
Oh man, that's my sister. Oh man, we changed our mission statement because of Dolphin. Though I just told somebody this on a meeting the other day for housing, and she kept saying FIP. And I just let her keep talking, and I said, please stop saying that. and she said, what, Mr. Harry? I said, you know what I said, first I was trying to find out what FIP meant. I hate the acronyms, and I'm an educator, I hate it. And I said, formerly incarcerated people. And I said it because Dauphinette, we are just so amazing. I said we were on a panel, and I think I told you this, Nina, and she was talking, and she kept saying people, well, formerly blah blah blah, and our mission used to say formerly incarcerated, formerly people. I would used to say currently incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people, and I stopped and I said, "You want us to say people first?" And she said, "Sis, yes." And I went up and I changed. I talked to my team and I changed the mission statement because of that. But me and her talked about why, and she said because people, when they hear incarceration for people, that's all they hear. They don't even hear us being people. I say, got it. And that was it. I never thought, no more thought to it. I went back and told, look, we changed the mission statement and put people before incarceration because they are people. That's our people. They're our people. Most of them are our people. And so, so I'll take how does this issue impact legal cases? A lot. Especially on the other side of it. We had a client who, on paper, had paperwork behind him. He's been incarcerated now 24 years and had paperwork behind him about all of his trauma as a young person. And that's not recognized, especially with Black people. And we're trying to help them to come home. And so they're not hearing that on the DA's, on the prosecutor side of it. Our outreach coordinator did 27 years and 8 months. He went to prison at 15 years old. He came home, he was 43. The first thing happened to him, he was 9 years old. And his mama told him to watch his little sister while she went to the store to get ice cream. His little sister was a baby, he was 9. So he said that was his baby. And he went to go check on her crib and she was dead. And he went told his auntie and uncle, and he was like, she just sleep. He picked up out the bed to show him that she was dead. Trauma. 3 years later, when he was 12 years old, 3 men broke in the house. They raped his mom. One of them held him at gunpoint. And they raped his mom while he made him watch. And all she could focus on was her child. Because all he did was he cried. And she kept telling him it's going to be all right. Trauma. From that point on, he started wilding, self-medicating, got on drugs like Dolphin had talked about, got into drugs, robbing to support his habit, drinking, doing all kind of stuff. He had no business or whatever, and trying to stay focused. And he had a 2-parent household until the loss of his sister wore too much on the parents, and they ended up splitting. Like he says, dad ain't never missed a beat with them still. And but all this trauma he was dealt with, him getting the girl pregnant at 15, older, matter of fact, a woman pregnant, and he went to jail. He went to prison for a crime he did not commit, for rape. And he said, I robbed her, I didn't rape her. The woman even said, he robbed me, did not rape me. And he tried to force her to say that he did. Force her to take a rape test. She said, I'm not taking no test. All this is documented. And he still went to jail. At the time, Eddie Jordan was the DA. His mama called the bus every day to go sit in Eddie Jordan's office. And he dismissed her every day for years. And so he finally got sick of sitting in the office. He said, you come here every day. I gotta see what you're talking about. And he looked at our case and started dealing with it. And then they ended up getting rid of him or whatever. But trauma. And not one time was that considered. This was a child at 15. Our babies are children too. I have a 15-year-old right now. I have a 15-year-old son that is 5'8", and he just probably told me yesterday about 170 pounds, not because the sucker was 200 or something pounds. Well, size, probably not size back to 36, but he was a size 38 waist and a 10.5 shoe. And they'll pretend that he's not a child. And he is. He looks like a child. We'll see a child. Us, mamas, we'll see a child. Soft, that's my quiet lion. I mean, just you put it in the probably the smartest kid I've ever come in. I ain't because that's my child. I got a daughter too. The sucker's smart. He's brilliant. But this traumatizing. And to think about Reg being the same age my baby is now, and how anything happened to Zion, what that would do to me. I wouldn't even teach him how to drive. He kept asking me. I told my daughter she was 13. Kept asking me. I told him no. So I finally cried to him a year and a half ago and said, I was afraid to teach you because I know that they're going to stop you. And that's something that we have to live with every day. I know they're going to stop you. And I can't say what they're going to do to you. So it don't work clean shaven, the hoodie, it don't matter. It just depends on how they feeling that day. So just to think about it and talk about it is traumatic. And so I don't know what they will do to him, but I know what I'm going to do if they touch him as a mama. And that's on God. I know. Because I can't say what they're going to do. I can hope he make it home. That's all I can do. But if they touch my baby, I know. And it's just going to be that. But these are the things that we're faced with, that our people are faced with when they're going up against this racist system, this racist legal system, because there's no justice when you have to contend with that. A 15-year-old child being tried as an adult, that's not even considered that he didn't even do the crime, right? Take it out your head. That even told you that. All of the trauma. Not even his mama probably didn't have the wherewithal to even think about taking him nowhere to get help at all. His lawyer not even asking him, well, give me some background about you. Tell me your story, right? So that way we can put that on trial too. And hopefully add your case depending on what kind of judge we get, right? Because I know if you would have went in front of judge like Judge Angel Harris, right, it would have got some empathy, right? But we talked about in the 80s, no telling who we would have got at that time, right? But these things are not considered, and we see this repeatedly. We see them already in the meeting when a white kid does something, they already gave him paper don't even exist. He didn't already diagnose them and everything. They taking them to Burger King to get food, no handcuffs, free as a bird. Ours may not even make it to the courtroom. That is trauma, right? So I want y'all to think about another term that I don't want us to keep using, which is trauma informed. Because that gives the sense that we understand it, that they understand our trauma, and they don't. We barely do. And it happens too quickly for us. At the drop of a dime, something traumatizes us. And nobody has our six. That's why we have to start having each other's six, right? Meaning have each other back. So we have ongoing trauma. It's ongoing. It's not informed. There's no way you're going to be informed about something that, well, in a way they are because they're the ones keep causing it. Right? But it happens far too frequently. Right? And so that's the part where we talk about, like we talked about Tuesday, about us bringing justice to it and doing this justice work for just us. That has to be our primary focus. So these are the things that and I've seen a bunch more, especially when it comes to, like Alana was saying, our Lord, and the children is a little different. I told y'all Tuesday, when I leave out there, I sit in my car and cry. So and he was 15 and trying as an adult. I'm telling you, they roll our babies in there like, they can't even wear, am I lying? Can't even wear shoes. They have no shoes, our children, once they lock them up. It's just orange shoes. I just feel adults. It's orange shoes. I have pictures in my phone. Trauma. We had them paint shoes one time. Can't even imagine what that would feel like to have on shoes again. Trauma. All that's trauma. But this is what we have to contend with. So that's fine.
Yeah, everything that she said is exactly correct. And, you know, what can lawyers do, like recognizing that we as Black people are continually exposed to this kind of trauma? So I'll just share with you an example of the way that we work to affirm the dignity of Black people who've experienced trauma. So in our Justice Lab program, we decided that we wanted to tackle the issue of police violence because this is an issue that, of course, impacts all of us and has impacted us from the time of slavery, where obviously the origins of policing in this nation are slave patrols that were formed by white enslavers who wanted to recapture enslaved people who had tried to, get their freedom. And a lot of people don't know that history. So even telling that history of the origins of policing and really helping to connect people to that history is really important. So that's one of the functions of the program, to really help people understand that this is not a modern day phenomenon. The police are used by white people, by systems of power, to police Black bodies and to ensure that we don't have access to certain neighborhoods, to ensure that we don't have access to certain resources, and to ensure that the wealth that was extracted from us and the labor that was extracted from us at the beginning and the founding of this country cannot be reclaimed. That's what it is. But we don't know that. Like, we tend to use the language of the oppressor, of the enslaver, to talk about what we did to deserve such treatment, or what was this person doing, what were they wearing, how were they being. When you know the origins of it, then you know that that's all pretextual. That's what
Yep.
the law calls a pretext. It's basically a lie. Something that sounds right, but that covers up what the real intent is. So we made a really important decision when we decided that we were going to start representing people who had their rights violated by police, that we were going to represent only Black and brown people. And that is a really important decision to make, because a lot of times these large civil rights organizations, like an ACLU, they like to take up cases for the perfect plaintiff. And what they mean by that is they want to find somebody who looks a certain way, is from a certain background, has a criminal history that is clear, that is of a certain wealth status, essentially somebody that they can present before a white racist court system that the court would decide is worthy of representation. And so, when we started this program, I felt like it was really important for us to say this idea of a perfect plaintiff is a white supremacist idea that we were going to reject, right? And so all of our folks, I think of the 50 cases or so that we have, 37 of our plaintiffs have extensive criminal histories. Because the system knows, and I'll explain to you a little aspect of Section 1983, which is the part of the United States Code that deals with bringing a claim against the government when your rights have been violated. The origins of that law, just put a pin in that, I'll explain it to you, but it goes back to 1871, where the United States had a problem with racial terror lynching, and the United States government figured out a law, a piece of legislation to stop the racial terror killing. And so it birthed the Civil Rights Act of 1871, which became United States Code Section 1983, which is what we're bringing all of our actions under. But that was to stop racial terror lynching. That's what it was for, to stop white terror. State-sanctioned white terror, because there were a lot of sheriffs and police officers, all them same people I told you that were on slave patrols, their daddies and granddaddies and great-granddaddies, those are the same people, right? So when we made that decision, a lot of people were like, well, the ACLU is supposed to represent everybody, right? It's supposed to make, this is it's an organization for everybody. And I said, yes, it is an organization for everybody. And what makes you think because I'm dedicating resources to Black and brown people that it's not for everybody? We've been dedicating resources to only white shit from the beginning. And it's always been fashioned as for everybody. It's a trickle down idea that if we give them their rights and we protect the perfect people, that it will trickle down to all of us. And we know that's not true. And so by all means, I tell everybody, this is a program for everybody, because if we stop getting killed by police, if we stop getting harassed by police, if we stop being racially profiled by police, everybody gonna be stopped. Everybody. This is gonna be working for all of us. So this is a program for everybody. And if you don't understand that, then you don't even understand any of what I just said. And honestly, if you don't understand anything of what I just said, you're not gonna be with me. I can't even waste my time trying to get you there. I gotta go talk to some people who do understand. I gotta go talk to some funders, some people who do understand the history, so that I can do what I wanna do. And so making sure that you take on clients who have the kind of background that you are the issue that you're trying to solve. How I'm saying I'm gonna be working on criminal justice, but I don't take on no clients that have a criminal history. That don't even make no sense. But that's how we think, because we are working in a criminal system, a court system that will harm the outcome of your case based upon you having a criminal conviction. Let me explain this to you. If you try to vindicate your rights, you try to take a claim into federal court on a civil rights violation. If you have a criminal conviction under a case called Heck versus Humphreys, if you are convicted or you plead guilty, you cannot bring your constitutional claim. So don't you think the police know that if they have an interaction with you where they violate your constitutional rights, don't you think they're gonna put a charge on you? That's basic. And the charges all look the same. Flight from an officer, battery of an officer, resisting an officer. It's very basic. steady drugs. It's very basic.
Strong smell of
A strong
marijuana.
smell of odor of marijuana. The presumption, I mean, it's all very, you could look at, if you looked at 2,500, 200 police reports, you say the same shit over and over and over and over and over. And I didn't tell you all this, but I started out as an assistant district attorney, as a prosecutor. So I can tell you from my own personal experience. I've read over 1,000 police reports. They all say the same thing. They can't all be true. They can't all be the same. So, there's a lot there, but a lot of it really looks like, honestly, what we've been hearing all night is so true. It really involves rejecting most of what we've been told and looking at it from the lens of our people and how we give our people access to the same resources that everybody else gets. This is the last thing I'll say. I was watching the news the other night, and this happened in Florida, I think. A white man who worked at a regional airport, like an airport like the Lakefront Airport, stole a plane. This man commandeered an aircraft and took off and proceeded to go into all type of different airspaces. I don't even know a lot about the FAA and how they manage all that stuff, but when you commandeer a plane, you can be charged with innumerable crimes, federal, state, and he apparently knew how to take off, but he didn't know how to land. Imagine that. So he flew all erratic patterns. They showed the flight pattern. It looked like zigzag crazy. Who knew how many planes, how many other people he endangered while he was doing this, and ended up crashing into a field. The police officers or sheriffs, whoever were at the press conference explaining what happened, said that this man needed counseling and needed help for his mental condition. And that was the reason why he stole this plane, and that they were going to work with him in order to get him the help that he needed. Okay. You all know what will happen if you take your black down to the Lakefront Airport tonight and you get in a plane that don't belong to you. And per se, exactly. This, what's your name? Raven said it's terrorism. It most certainly is. Stealing state, stealing property, terrorism. You could probably get attempted murder charges for thousands of people. So the hypocrisy in this system is astounding. And so you need to be as astounding as they are. People ask me why I believe children should receive services in a juvenile justice system and not be transferred to adult court no matter what they've done. No matter what they've done, it's because the hypocrisy of this system is astounding. And I know what it is. And so I'm going to use that same level of just being outside with it. Like, yeah, that is exactly how I'm approaching this. The level of dignity and compassion and empathy and consideration and all that that they are given, that's what our people deserve.
That's right.
And if we give our people that, and if we keep investing in our people, we are going to see a different outcome. You can't pour in love and compassion and decency and persistence and patience and get a negative outcome. That's not how it works. That's not how the universe works. You can exacerbate trauma. You can put trauma on top of trauma, and you're going to get the outcomes that you're seeing. And so my idea about everything that I'm doing in this work is to counteract that, is to vanquish the ideas and the nastiness, the callousness, the harm, the violence, the terror that is perpetrated against us. And that's the bottom line.
See, y'all see why I got the people I got, right? So we have 4 other videos. In the interest of time, though, I'm going to skip forward. because we have covered a lot around criminal justice, education, economics. So I want to go into this fact pattern real quick. Do y'all mind if we go through the fact pattern a little bit? Because So I'm gonna give y'all some stipulated facts. We're gonna fast forward here. I'm just making sure on the other side, we'll make sure our people that are watching are here with us. So I'm gonna give you some stipulated facts. Stipulated facts are these are facts that we agree on that are true. Okay, so stipulated fact is the judge is a black woman. I just put that in there. Opposing counsel is a black male. Everybody see watch Issa Rae's Black Lady Courtroom, Black Folks Courtroom, right? Okay, this is Black Courtroom. Okay, we're in the criminal district court in the parish of Rue, and you are a public defender in the parish of Rue. Okay, so that's the mindset that you all are in. So I want you all to take what you all have heard about being what it means to be a lawyer for the people. Okay, what it means that you have to pay attention to and think about as a lawyer for the people. Okay, and you are the public defender in this courtroom. Got it? Everybody there? Okay. So you walk into court, public defender. You're giving your case files, and you see that you're representing Irma Faye Stewart, a 30-year-old single African-American mother of 2. Okay? You glance at the gist. Remember I told you all the other day, a gist is a really short form. It just tells you what you've been accused of, right? It was the police outline what you've been accused of, which doesn't give a lot of information. They never do. But you see that she's been arrested as part of a drug sweep in rural Louisiana. So she has been taken in, and you are now her attorney. Her co-defendants are in court as well. And you notice that all but one of the people arrested were African American. Okay? You don't have much time. Public defenders never do. Maybe 10 minutes to evaluate her case before you're required to make a bond argument for her. A bond argument is the argument that you do initially, trying to get her out of jail. And the bond is the amount of money that needs to be paid in order for her to get out of jail. And we can go deeply into all the things around bonds. Lana and I have done quite a bit of work around that. But you have to make a bond argument for her, okay? What do you think? What's your first impression of her? Do you think she's innocent? Would you believe her if she told you she was innocent? What questions would you ask her? What words would you use to describe her to opposing counsel and the judge? Okay, so I want you to kind of take the things that Alana and Tueri have talked about that you've got to consider when you're looking at this woman. So what do you consider? What's going through your head? Quick. You only have a couple minutes. She's single. She's got kids. What else?
She's the only black person.
Only. So the first question, what's your first impression? What do you think of her?
She needs help.
Okay. What else? What's your first impression? Remember, quick. You gotta be quick with this, right? We're doing immediate.
Maybe she needs the drugs to cope.
Maybe she what?
Maybe she needs the drugs to cope.
Maybe she needs the drugs to cope. I like it. Or to live. Okay. So is she innocent?
I don't know.
What do you think? Could she be innocent?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. I like it. Okay, so what do you have to ask her? Real quick, come on. Gotta ask her some questions. So you gotta present her as a person to the judge.
Did you do it? How was your childhood?
How's your childhood? Okay, there we go. What else do you ask her?
About her raising her children.
About her children, about her life today. What else? Give me one more question that you ask her.
Well, how are you feeling right now?
How you feeling right now? That's yes. How you feeling right now? Absolutely. What else? What did you say? You think you were intentionally arrested, so you think about all these things. I love it. So what do you tell the judge? What do you tell the judge and the DA?
She's a single mother. She's doing it on her own.
She's doing it on her own. That she's a good person. I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all some more facts to the case, right? She's innocent, right? She's a home care nurse and she was visiting the home of a patient, right? The judge set her bond at $5,000. Because she makes just enough to pay her rent, her food, her utilities, and transportation. She doesn't have the 12%. Or when you make a bond and you go to the bail bondsman, the bail bondsman requires that you pay them 12% of your bond. I have always said I cannot make a $5,000 bond because when you add up my rent and my food and everything else, I don't have 12% of $5,000 extra to give to a bail bondsman to try to get out of jail on that day. Even me, I got to call my people. I got to call my friends. You know what I'm saying? I got to try to figure it out. And this is me. I'm telling you, personally, me, right? So that you got to consider that. So she doesn't have the 12% required by the bail bond to post her bond, and she is unable to go home, right? Her co-defendants who are guilty were all able to post their bond and fight their case from the street, right? So after a week in jail, because if you don't post bond, you can't get out. So the innocent person can't get out, the guilty parties can, right? She tells you that no one to care for her 2 small children and she needs to get home. Now, you know she pleads guilty to the drugs distribution charge. She'll go home immediately because the prosecutor has offered her probation. The prosecutor says, you're thinking about all this stuff. And she says, okay, the prosecutor says if she pleads guilty, she can go home today. I give her probation, right? So now you know these facts. What do you tell her?
Ask her what she wants to do.
Ask her what she wants to do. Why do you ask her what she wants to do?
Oh yeah, because we can't give it's what she wants.
It's what she wants, exactly. All right. So what would make you want to advise her that way, right? And what do you take into consideration when you're advising her?
Her thoughts.
Her thoughts. Her kids. Her what? You said it. You said it. I love it. Say it. Her feelings. You said her feelings. Her feelings. Right? What else you can take into consideration?
The fact that you now have a criminal history.
Criminal history, right? The time. Yeah. Now she's in jail. She's in jail. She can't make that bond. So these are all things that you got to consider, but y'all are seeing the bigger picture, right? Appreciate it. All right. We got some more facts. She refuses because she steadfastly proclaims her innocence, right? After only almost a month in jail, she decides, I'm gonna go ahead and plead guilty so I can return home to my children, right? Unwilling to risk a trial and years of imprisonment, she's sentenced to 10 years probation, ordered to pay $1,000 in fines, as well as court and probation costs, right? She is also now branded a drug felon. She's no longer eligible for food stamps. She may be discriminated against in employment because she cannot vote for at least 5 years. She's also about to be evicted from public housing. So she is now homeless. Her children are going to be taken from her and they're going to be put in foster care. How do you feel? Do you feel like you've won or do you feel like you've lost? Do you care about the probation? Do you ever think about her again? Right? Do you think her sentence was fair? Do you feel that this sentence was worth it? Do you think, considering all the information and risk being found guilty and having a hard sentence, she got the best outcome that she could get? Why?
They tricked her.
They tricked her. Say it again?
It was a lose-lose situation.
It's a lose-lose situation.
It sounds good at the moment, but I was like, okay, I'm back home, but I'm homeless, don't have my children.
That's right.
You know, it's worse out.
She's worse off. That's right. That's right.
And they took something personal from her. I feel like that's what they got her. Like they took something personal. Her children, her home. So they took something that's right here in her heart to get her in the insurance.
That's right.
That's how people do it.
That's right. All right. So you want some more facts? All right. Next slide. Judge eventually dismisses all cases against the defendants who did not plead guilty.
Oh, wow.
At trial, the judge finds the entire sweep was based on the testimony of a single informant who lied to the prosecution. Alana, does that happen?
Happens all the time.
She, however, is a drug felon, homeless, and desperate to regain custody of her children. So does this outcome change how you would have originally advised her? Do you feel differently about her innocence or guilt based on the outcome? right? And so you all said from jump, she could be innocent. And remember I told you in the beginning, consider, could she be innocent, right? And a lot of times attorneys, it hits them, okay, let me figure out the best outcome, help them get out of jail real quick, you know what I'm saying? To plead out, you know what I'm saying? All that navigating quickly, but don't consider the totality of her life, right? Would you have worked the case differently from the beginning if you had had more information? If you knew in the beginning that this was a informant that lied, would it have changed your bond argument from the beginning, right? But we don't have that information as public defenders oftentimes on this side. Prosecutors, though, kind of sometimes have I'm pointing at a lot as if you're still a prosecutor.
No, they do. They have the upper hand. I mean, you don't get any discovery or any of the information that the state has until after arraignment. So somebody could be sitting in jail for a significant period of time before the state has to turn over any information. So absolutely, it's exactly, and sometimes they don't even turn it over at all. They don't tell you. I mean, confidential informants are one of the most. It's an unregulated practice that police use, and the way they really exploit people. Usually, people who have past histories with drugs and either or mental health issues or things like that. They utilize and bring those people to come and testify, essentially, or to do drug buys or different things like that. And they promise people lighter sentences in their cases if they do, if they actually come and work in another case. But a lot of times those people have a lot of, they're in a lot of, they have a lot of personal struggle. And so they have a lot of incentive to not tell the truth because they're being given favor in their cases. So anytime you have a case that involves a confidential informant, you need to be doing a lot of research about the confidential informant and the police officer that's using that informant.
Thank you, Alana. All right, next slide. So, what you all just did was navigate a case from the perspective of being a lawyer for the people, right? You all took everything that Alana and Tueri taught you about and took a case from beginning to end in your head. And that's how fast, if y'all don't think that's how fast stuff has to move. When I was a public defender, and I hate saying this number because it seems so unreal, but in the 3 years in municipal court, 5,000 cases came through my space, right? And so always had to think really quickly in totality, but always had to consider all these pieces for our people, for my clients, and really had to humanize each person very quickly, right? You all did that, right? And so when you all think about movement learning and can I do this? Is this something that I can do? The answer is unequivocal yes. I mean, I'm gonna ask the panelists, what did you think about the way they navigated so quickly with the information that they had?
Absolutely, totally on point. And you can do it. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. And I get better and better at it as you do it more and more.
Don't become tainted.
That's real.
Exactly.
So we began yesterday with a speech from our dear friend Brian Stevenson, who we all love. And so Just Mercy, we talked about Just Mercy. All of us read the book before we saw the movie. I will say, read that book. Read that book, right? But this is one of my favorite scenes from the movie and what it looks like to be a movement lawyer in that space.
It's easy to see this case as one man trying to prove his innocence. But when you take a black man and you put him on death row a year before his trial, and exclude black people from serving on his jury, when you base your conviction on the coerced testimony of a white felon, and ignore the testimony of 24 law-abiding black witnesses, when any evidence proving his innocence is suppressed, and anyone who tries to tell the truth is threatened, this case becomes more than the trial of just a single defendant. It becomes a test of whether we're going to be governed by fear and by anger, or by the rule of law. The people standing in in the back of this courtroom are all presumed guilty when accused. If they have to leave here and live in fear of when this very thing will happen to them, if we're just going to accept the system that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent, then we can't claim to be just. If we say we're committed to equal justice under law, to protecting the rights of every citizen, regardless of wealth, race, or status, then we have to end this nightmare for Walter McMillan and his family. The charges against them have been proven to be a false construction of desperate people, fueled by bigotry and bias, who ignored the truth in exchange for easy solutions, and that's not the law. That's not justice. That's not right. I ask that this case be dismissed immediately, Your Honor. Thank you.
So we named this CLE in this class, we can move mountains. The legal system as it exists is a mountain. It's you know, it's even more than a mountain. I never say this word correctly. It's a collateral. Is that what it is?
I wish I knew what that word is.
It is a system of mountains. You know, it is not one system. It is not just the criminal justice system. It's not the civil system. It's multiple systems within the system that work towards the oppression of our people, right? And so, but we can move each mountain, right? So they can remove the spaces of our people. We can't move those mountains until we have people who are pushing those mountains away. And that is who you are. Ain't nobody gonna tell y'all can't move these mountains. Ain't nobody gonna allow you all to sit there with this burden of of inferiority that they're trying to place on you. Nobody's gonna do that. You all are gonna move these mountains. And so I am really grateful for Alana, Tueri. Artemis had to run out. She saw she had the little one. And so life happens to all of us. And so, you know, that is where we are. I'm going to open it up for questions for the next 10 minutes because we got to get home. I don't think y'all understood how many mountains were moved to get these people here. And so I'm going to open up for questions for 10 minutes. There's also pizza in the back if you all want. But we're going to go ahead and here and open up for questions for 10 minutes. So I will say I want to thank Alana and Tueri for being here, you guys for being here, and we'll have questions for 10 minutes. Anybody have questions? I saw you, Raven, in the back. You ready?
Raven.
So there's a lot of things that people tell us as Black people when it comes to a problem with other people, specifically white races. What do we do? I know there's a lot of things that we can do, but what can we really do? Nobody's listening to us. When we're mad, we're crazy, or when we're educated, we're not really educated. You don't know what you're talking about. What can we do as Black people for them to hear us?
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
My favorite line, one of my favorite lines in the movie Black Panther was the first fight scene. And T'Challa mama said when he was losing, and she screamed at him, "Remember who you are. Remember who you are." They're gonna say all of that. Even when we talk about classism, right? Which is really not a thing in our community because it doesn't matter. We saw Oprah get treated a certain type of way, right? And Oprah was in God, right? So that's another construct that they put in place to divide us. I wrote this down literally driving and coming here because I'm listening to young Hughley, who I love. And he said, The most dangerous place for Black people to live is in the imagination of white people. The most dangerous place for Black people to live is in the imagination of white people. I knew when he said it, I said, whoo. They're gonna think whatever they're gonna think. And they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. Going back to what Alana said and what your child mama said. Know who you are and whose you are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, we know that on the continent of Africa, they had people that were richer, our people richer than others or whatever. And that's okay. That's okay. It was the way that we treat each other. Is the beauty in it. So when we stand on the shoulders of giants, or we come from kings and queens, it's not this Queen Elizabeth thing, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about our spirit, that same spirit that welcomed them in, right? Allowed them to sit at our tables, the same spirit that had to fight them, right? When we think about Queen Nzinga and her sisters, and Yaa Asantewaa, Queen Candace and Makeba, and all of these amazing people, right? And some of us who aren't even kings or queens. It's who we are here that tells those stories. So they're gonna think what they're gonna think, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do. So we know the issue. What are you willing to do is the thing. And ask yourself that every moment you get up. And tell yourself, make that be something that strengthens you. You know who you are, you know it's who you are, who you belong to, where you come from, and what you're determined to do every single day to bring justice first so we can have change. And we talked about that too, that people want to skip and hop to change, but we don't have no justice. So when white folks want to be and not moving out, and they tell me, whoa, we ain't ready for the change, because we're out with justice. You want to come here over here and hop, skip, and jump for some change. Fall back. First of all, fall back, because we got this. But we need justice first. And this ain't the Matrix, Neo, so you're not going to give it to us. We have to do that. So in the morning when you get up, remind yourself, because sometimes I got to remind myself sometimes. Remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself that. My mom would sometimes send me little messages on she put them on Facebook so everybody can see. And I'll be saying, my mom must have felt me today feeling a little sad about something. But it's always something that reminds me of who I am. And I have this little hashtag where I say, I'm Pat's little girl. And my Instagram name is She Named Me to Every. And that's a reminder to me on who daughter I am. And I know what that woman did. You know what I'm saying? And I know what her mama did. When my mama decided to stop being an activist so she could raise her family, my grandmother ain't never stopped. She ain't stopped. She got, well, after Hurricane Katrina, she was kind of wore out. But up until then, she never stopped. So sometimes you need that, and you lean on folks. And like when sis came in, I was so excited to see her, because the first time I heard her was on the radio, on WBO, because I found on my people. And I text out, I said, "What's her name again? Give her my number. Send her my." Because I'm not just listening for what you're saying, I'm listening if you're doing it. And she was doing it. She came, kicked in the door and doing it. And she might have told her she pulled up a chair at the table. She bought her own table a few times too. And that's what I love when I see that happening. Remember, Brian Stevenson said, and I told you we're gonna start saying this, I was born brave. We were born brave. It's in this country specifically, it is a thing to be able to bring Black life here. So when a Black man, a Black woman, or however you come together, same sex, I don't care. But when Black people decide to do that, that's brave. That's brave. It shouldn't have to be, but it is. It's brave. And then when women decide to carry that life further and bring that life here, that's bravery to do that. You're born brave. Don't let them take that from you. They live their waking hours and sometimes in their sleep trying to figure out how we keep on coming. Why we keep coming. And I'm gonna tell you, they didn't think about the why. They don't do why. They do what. They don't do why. We do whys. We do why because we root people. They don't do why. We Eastern thinkers. We hear white people saying what all the time. You know, in our house, you know, they get your back in the mouth. That's New Orleans, they back in the mouth. But they, you know, they get your pie. But you know, and White House, and it's just different. But we say why. We ask why. Why? You might turn and say, because I said so. Because you just got on her nerve because you didn't ask it for your time. You know, but we did. And why answers to all the questions, right? Why gonna answer who, what, where, everything, and you just listen, right? And so that's the thing. Wake up every morning and remind yourself, remind your sister and your brothers, you got this. And don't become tainted by it. And when you have the moments when you feel like you don't, pick up the phone and say, yo, look, I'm going through it. What I gotta do? And one of y'all better say, let's go have a drink. Or if y'all smoking or whatever, I don't know, but I do. Go have a smoke, let's go take a ride on the lake. Whatever we got to do, let's go dance, let's go. What I told you, like this is my Black Joy Tuesday. I'm about to be 50 years old. I still go out. When I leave here, I'm going to the bar, you know. But I'm gonna get up tomorrow and be right back at it. So I'm enjoying my life, but I'm gonna fight for my life and for life of my people. So that's how you battle that every day. And every day is a battle. And not all the battles are yours. You find that thing that's yours and you master that thing. And you go hard at that thing. But at the same time, you make sure you teaching somebody else that thing. So you're not doing it by yourself. That's the other thing. We have become so individualized. That's not our way.
That's their way.
That's their way. That's not our nature. We are collective people. Always been. We have to redesign and rebuild this village. We got to do that. Not them. Us, because that's ours. That's ours. We here because Nia said we got a village and I need y'all. We were like, all right. I literally was on the computer doing my work and I'm talking to one and Nia said, can you come? And I was like, I would look at both of my calendar. I'm like, oh my God, squeeze me in.
Yep.
But that's what you do for the village. And going back to what Alana said, and again, I told you enough for our brothers understand that mamas bring y'all here. That's what Black mamas do, right? And so, yeah, we've always been at the bottom of the totem pole. But if we get off that totem pole, that thing gonna fall over. So know who you are. And that's how you win all the time. They'll never see that coming. Ever. They especially don't never see them. They think they see the Black woman coming. They'll never see us coming. So that's my answer for that.
The best advice you could ever get. It's the best advice.
That is
Nothing to add. The best advice you could ever get.
Alana, I'm gonna let you have the last word.
Oh, I see two. I don't
Oh,
know.
there's two questions?
Oh, maybe three.
Okay. Over the time of your working and studies, like, did you ever develop a dislike for white people? And if so, like, how bad of a dislike? Like, you have white friends, do you take them to work?
I'm gonna speak on over to this little camera right here. Damien, we go wrap this up right here on this side. I'm gonna shut it down. We gonna stop the recording right quick. You got me.
Sounds good. Yep, closing out now.
No, it's good. We're good. So I'm gonna end
it
it,
out now.
Damien, and I'm gonna talk to you
Later. Okay, bye.
Yeah, there you go.